Regular international passenger flights have finally been allowed to resume after more than 2 years of a pandemic-infused ban on air travel in and out of India. So now scheduled international flights, which had been suspended since the March 2020, and overseas air connectivity was made possible through air bubble agreements under which airlines could basically mount only a limited number of flights. But now carriers will be have been allowed once again to operate at capacity in accordance with the original air service agreements negotiated between India and their home countries.
After a long gap of 2 years, regular international passenger flights finally resumed from today. With this, 6 Indian and 60 foreign airlines from 40 countries start operating 3,249 weekly flights under the summer schedule, which will last till 29th October. There are none from China due to its international travel restrictions.
गर्मी के स्केड्यूल के आधार पर 135 नए फ्लाइट्स का उद्घाटन हुआ है और उसी के साथ आज के दिवस पर दोबारा भारत को विश्व के साथ जोड़ने का तारतम्य शुरू हो चुका है.
Passengers are hoping that the increased frequency of flights will finally bring down airfares.
एयरलाइन जो चलती थी 2, 3, 4 चलती थी इंटरनेशनल पद्धर पे, उन्होंने रेट्स इतने बढ़ा दिए थे कि 3, 4 गुना उन्होंने रेट वसूल किए हैं पैसेंजर से. उनकी मजबूरी थी, वो कई बच्चे ऑस्ट्रेलिया में जा रहे हैं पढ़ाई के लिए, न्यूजीलैंड जा रहे हैं. हिंदुस्तान सरकार ने इसको आज 27 तारीख से ऑल एयरलाइंस खोल दी है, इंटरनेशनल सभी उड़ानें खोल दी हैं. लगता है अब कुछ रेट्स डाउन आएंगे.
I think it's a very good decision. Finally, it's good for the economy of the country, and a lot of the passengers who could not afford these high fare, which is skyrocketing, will definitely go down.
In the pre-pandemic phase, 4,700 international flights were operating weekly at Indian airports. But under the air bubble pacts, the number came down to 2,000 international flights weekly and the airfares soared. The resumption from today will lead to 3,249 weekly flights. The total number of flights is expected to go up. Several airlines like Virgin Atlantic, Thai Airways, Malaysia Airlines, Air France, Finnair, Lufthansa and Lot Polish have announced new routes. The resumption is expected to cause gradual relief in airfares ahead of the summer vacation season. While the travel industry is looking forward to doing better business, experts point out the challenges.
Prior to pandemic, we would see the split between domestic and international to be on 66-33% basis on the revenue generated. And during the pandemic times, this number must have come to 95-5. Hence, there is a huge amount of expectation for international flights to add to the bottom line and the top line of the company.
The big question on everyone's mind, as rightly pointed out, is will the airfares go down? Now, ideally, airfares should go down because there'll be more competition. But you see, we have this looming crisis in the world which has caused oil prices to rise sharply.
Several COVID restrictions have also been relaxed. Cabin crew members are no longer needed to wear personal protective equipment or PPE kits. Security personnel at airports can resume pat-down search of passengers. Airlines no longer need to keep 3 seats vacant on international flights for medical emergencies. But wearing masks and maintaining hand hygiene is still mandatory at airports and on flights. According to the central government, airlines may carry a few additional PPE protective gears, sanitizer and N95 masks to handle any respiratory infections related to cases on air for passengers as well as the crew.
After 2 years of battling through higher fares and longer duration journeys, people are hopeful that finally travelling abroad will become easier. In New Delhi with camera person Gauri Prasad, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.
And so the resumption of all these international flights is not just expected to be a boost for the airline industry, but there's also the hotel and hospitality industry, which is expected to get a major leg up.
India's resumption of all international flights at 100% capacity after an over 2-year ban due to the pandemic is likely to be a big boost for the hotel industry as well. The hospitality sector, remember, has witnessed its worst ever financial crisis since 2008 and is finally hopeful that occupancy and revenue levels will see an uptick.
We expect the occupancy levels to increase by at least 15 to 20% over the next financial year. The resumption of inbound flights into India will also ensure that the standalone heritage hotels that came to a standstill and did not have the infrastructure to cope with the situation will now see an increase in occupancy levels.
With rising COVID cases in Europe, some industry experts believe travelers from European countries may still be cautious and airlines may also start on European routes in a calibrated manner. Others feel an increase in inbound tourism ahead of the summer season will certainly boost revenues for the bleeding hospitality sector. Gaurav Bhatia, Executive Director, Bird Group, that owns the Roseate Hotels and Resorts, says an increase in inbound tourism ahead of the summer season will definitely boost the revenue stream of the country's bleeding aviation industry. The hospitality industry will also get a major leg up from this move that could drive inbound tourism in a major way. The expected surge in inbound tourism is also likely to firm up average room rates and revenue for the hospitality sector. Sakshi Bajaj for NDTV.
And the Central Bureau of Investigation has named 22 people as accused in the Birbhum massacre, in which 8 people were beaten and burnt alive earlier this week. This, of course, has triggered off a huge political furore. The West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has said that no one will be spared. She's also promised that her party's bloc president will be arrested for not informing the police and helping the police in preventing this crime in a timely manner. He is one of those who are being questioned by the CBI now.
This list consists of the names that were actually, a part of the investigation of the state police, the special investigation team that was set up by the West Bengal government to probe this case. Now, once the case was transferred to the CBI took over from where the state police had left off. And obviously, the list of names is similar or almost the same as we've been told by our sources. But beyond that, what you also have is the CBI today is also questioning the accused, and one of the accused, of course, is Anarul Hossain, who was the bloc president of the Trinamool in the area. Mamata Banerjee, the Chief Minister, had ordered his arrest, saying that he did not inform the police in time so that the incident could be prevented. Now, the CBI, of course, will have to file a status report before the Calcutta High Court next month, and they will have to also now work on the investigation to figure out who conspired to set the homes on fire, and also who all were the exact people who set these homes on fire in which so many deaths took place. Also, what we know is that the CBI has set up a base, a camp office there to continue this investigation and to conduct this investigation in Birbhum.
And in Budgam in Jammu and Kashmir, a terrorist attack on the family of a policeman, actually, has left 2 brothers dead. On Saturday evening, terrorists barged into their home in Budgam district of Jammu and Kashmir, resorted to heavy firing, which killed a special police officer and critically injured his brother. He died. The special police officer died in hospital today, and thousands attended the last rites of these 2 brothers in the Chatbagh village. And as people were seen mourning, a family member announced that they would be migrating from this village after these 2 brothers were killed. And in the Indian Army, on Sunday, successfully carried out the test firing of the medium-range surface-to-air missile air defense system off the coast of Odisha's Balasore. The Defence Research and Development Organization, the DRDO, has announced that this missile system was flight tested at about 10:30 a.m. and it intercepted a high-speed aerial target at a long range. And as per this DRDO tweet, the target was destroyed by the missile in a direct hit. And India's leading multiplex players PVR and Inox have announced their merger after meetings of their board of directors. The respective boards of the 2 companies approved an all-stock merger. The merger, though, is yet to receive approval from the Competition Commission of India. It has also been decided that the PVR chairman, Ajay Bijli, will be the managing director of the combined entity, and Sanjeev Kumar will be appointed as the executive director. And let's go across to these shocking visuals that came in today of the Bihar Chief Minister being attacked at an event in his hometown. You can see the attacker going up to the Chief Minister and hitting him on his back. He is then restrained by his security guards. The attacker, the assaulter, has now been arrested. He is in the custody of the police and is said to be a local. And fuel prices have increased for the 5th time in 6 days. Fuel prices have now risen over 3.70 rupees a litre in 6 days. This, of course, fuel now on fire in the national capital. You can take a look at the prices on your screens of what petrol and diesel cost you if you live in the national capital, and then in Mumbai costing 113 rupees a litre for petrol, 98 rupees for diesel. In Kolkata, 108 for petrol and 93 for diesel, and similarly fuel on fire in Chennai. Remember, the elections have ended and now the increases have begun. And the big international story, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said that the White House does not have a strategy of regime change in Russia. This was a statement made during a visit to Jerusalem. This, of course, comes after we heard the U.S. President Joe Biden mention this, and the White House has been quick to try and clarify that the U.S. is not calling for an immediate change of government in Moscow. This after the U.S. President said in his speech, for God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. And of course, the Russia's Putin's spokesperson has denounced this remark, saying, pointing out that it's not up to the President of the United States, it's not up to Americans to decide who will remain in power in Russia.
I think the President, the White House, made the point last night that, quite simply, President Putin cannot be empowered to wage war or engage in aggression against Ukraine or anyone else. As you know, and as you've heard us say repeatedly, we do not have a strategy of regime change in Russia or anywhere else for that matter. In this case, as in any case, it's up to the people of the country in question. It's up to the Russian people.
A dictator bent on rebuilding an empire will never erase a people's love for liberty. Brutality will never grind down their will to be free. Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia, for free people refused to live in a world of hopelessness and darkness. We will have a different future, a brighter future, rooted in democracy and principles, hope and light, of decency and dignity, of freedom and possibilities. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
Meanwhile, satellite images released on Saturday showed a burning fuel storage depot in the Ukrainian village of Kalnivka after it was targeted by Russian forces. You can see a thick black plume of smoke rising from the facility. It's located somewhere southwest of Kiev, and you can see that smoke merging into the air. These pictures have been captured by Maxar Technologies. Maxar's images also show burning buildings in Irpin and Horenka, as well as a destroyed TV tower in Izium. Now, despite these attacks on these sites, U.S. officials have been claiming that Russian forces in Ukraine seem to have shifted their focus from a ground offensive aimed at Kiev to instead prioritize what Moscow calls the liberation of the contested Donbas region, suggesting a new phase of the war.